Thanks for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. When you talk about great barbecue, there are a few regions of the US that are always battling for the crown. Each region has their own way of doing things, and the rivalries can become pretty fierce. There's lots of articles out there for you to read if you want to dig in further. Some of the top regions are Texas, where beef brisket and mesquite wood are the kings of the queue. An Austin restaurant named Franklin's is often referred to as the best barbecue restaurant in the world. Their specialties are brisket and beef ribs, which are my personal favorite. Customers literally line up before 6 a.m. to guarantee they can get theirs before the food runs out, so that should tell you something. Memphis barbecue is best known for pork ribs, served with either a dry rub or sauce. Before COVID hit, Memphis had an annual event called Memphis in May that included a barbecue contest. The winners made some serious money and got notoriety in the barbecue circuit. Now to Kansas City. Interestingly, the city of Kansas City spans two states. Both states, Kansas and Missouri, have a Kansas City. I've never visited, but I understand there are lots of good barbecue restaurants in both. Kansas City barbecue is known for a variety of meats and their signature thick, sweet sauce. Some barbecue snobs describe it as an unsophisticated supermarket sauce since it's agreeable and easily accessible. Don't let that bother you though, it's delicious, but it's not snobby or sophisticated. When a lot of people think of delicious barbecue, they probably think of pork ribs with a lot of sticky, sweet sauce. That would be considered Kansas City style. And finally, North Carolina, which is the subject of this series. There are restaurants that have the usual variety of barbecued meats, but around here, barbecue is a noun that means slow-cooked pork. And there are two main styles which have been argued about for years. The Eastern style is whole hog, which is slow-cooked over hickory wood for hours. The sauce is vinegar and pepper-based, and it can be pretty tangy. Some places really use a lot of sauce, and it can catch you off guard if you're not ready. The other style is called Piedmont or Lexington style. Rather than doing whole hog, they do only the pork shoulder, and they include ketchup into their vinegar-based sauce. It's a little bit thicker and a little bit sweeter, and that change alone has created a fierce rivalry in the state. And since this style is shoulder only, I understand that the fattiness of the shoulder helps it to absorb more of that delicious smoke flavor. As I assume is the case in the other barbecue regions, North Carolina publishes a barbecue map. There have been books written on the subject. North Carolina also has what they call the Historic Barbecue Trail. In order to be included in the barbecue trail, your restaurant needs to cook its meat over wood or charcoal. You must make your own sauce. The restaurant had to be operating continuously for 12 or more years, and the product was a good representation of North Carolina barbecue. It also limits the number of restaurants to only 2 per city. Over the years, a lot of the old historic barbecue joints have closed down. So besides just getting delicious food at these restaurants, you're also stepping into an historic place that means a lot to North Carolina and its barbecue scene. This video series will focus on North Carolina style barbecue. If anyone cares what I have to say and this series takes off, and I'm lucky enough to visit restaurants in other areas, I will be sure to document my thoughts on those as well. I will be judging each restaurant I visit with a set of criteria that is important to me. I expect I will have to tweak this list over time, but this is what I came up with for now. I'll be judging based on smoke flavor, sauce options, sides, overall taste, value, service, cleanliness, the ambiance inside, and the restaurant setting. Now, when I eat barbecue, the smokier the better. I know not everybody agrees with that, but when you're cooking over wood or coal for some of these places claim 10, 12, 15 hours, I expect there to be significant smoke taste on the meat. And honestly, in my travels, it's unfortunately pretty rare to get any smoke flavor sometimes. And I pull up to these places and they have smokehouses and stacks of wood, and I know they're cooking overnight for hours and it's not easy. And I usually don't taste any smoke somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but that's my honest assessment. So that's one of the key criteria that I will be scoring against. Each criteria will be given a score of 1 through 5. And since there are 9 categories, 45 would be a score. And just a fair warning, I am a tough judge and very hard to impress, so Don't be insulted if your favorite place doesn't score very highly. I know great barbecue is not easy to make consistently, and sometimes you just have an off day. Every place deserves a second chance. And with all that out of the way, let's talk about some barbecue. Thanks for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. The first restaurant I visited is a place called Grady's out in Dudley, North Carolina. And Dudley is a very rural town. Looks like there's not very much going on. I didn't know this, but they were only doing takeout because of COVID. So I think that probably had a negative effect on the whole feel of the place and the quality and taste of the food, quite honestly. I really hate eating in the car. I hate the smell that it leaves behind. It was a hot, humid day, and I really should have called them first, so I'll blame myself for that one. So if you are going to take the drive out to Grady's, just be aware that it is takeout only. There are no benches outside, and you'll be eating in your car. Also, the building itself was kind of humid. Service was pretty slow. I think I got stuck behind a couple of pretty big orders, so it took probably about 40 minutes to get from the door to the front counter to even order. The menu was posted up on the wall, but being a first-timer, I didn't really understand what a tray comes with, how many sides, what were my options, so really was not a great first impression. And when we first pulled up, I saw standing outside who I believe was Mr. Grady, and I wanted to ask him if we could get a tour of the smokehouse, but they looked very busy, and I'm sure he didn't have much time to waste with some curious onlookers, so I didn't ask, but it would have been cool to see that. On to the criteria. Smoke flavor was 0, believe it or not. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been to a bunch of these historic North Carolina barbecue places, and for all the hours and all the effort that they put in cooking over wood coals, it's very rare to really get great smoke flavor. And at Grady's, I really tasted none. So unfortunately, I have to give them 0 on that. Sauce options, I gave them a 1. From what I could see, they only had a squeeze bottle of basic vinegar. I didn't see any spices, didn't really see any other options besides this squeeze bottle, so it was just straight vinegar. Sides, I gave them a 2. We had hush puppies and I think french fries. Nothing great, nothing memorable, nothing too bad. Was basic. Overall taste was 2. Again, there was really no smoke taste. Didn't get any of the outside bark, none of the skin. Actually, I take that back. There was some skin, but it was kind of soggy. There was no crunch to it. Again, I think having to eat it as takeout in the styrofoam container, I think that made everything soggy, a little bit mushy. Really not a great experience. Value, I'd say was 3. Definitely not expensive. Probably pretty average. Service was 2. They were friendly enough, but very busy. The phone never stopped ringing. Very humid, very hot in there. They're working hard. I know they're working hard. It just was not a great day. Cleanliness, I had to give them a 5 on that one. They had a cleanliness score from the state of 100, which is pretty impressive. Ambiance inside, I gave them a 2. Again, it was very humid in there. Smelled like pork, of course. Not much air circulation. It was very crowded. You couldn't sit. Really not a great showing. The setting outside, I gave them a 5 though. Again, it's in a very rural part of town. Wide open scenery, some nice farmland. So that was pretty nice. I'd like to visit Grady's again. Hopefully when COVID is over and things are back to normal. They've been around forever, and I appreciate all their hard work. So they're definitely worth at least a second visit. Total score, 22 out of 45. Next restaurant is called Skylight Inn in Ayden, North Carolina. Similar to Grady's, this was also out in the farmland, and there was a farm next door with some goats, wide open pastures. This did have some outdoor seating though, which was pretty nice. And this restaurant is run by the Jones family, and that family is apparently North Carolina famous for mastering the art of whole hog barbecue. The story goes that this restaurant was highlighted in National Geographic several years ago as the capital of barbecue. So if you have a chance to go to this restaurant, it actually has a Capitol dome, like the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. They call it the capital of barbecue. So on to the scoring. I gave them a 3 for smoke flavor. Unlike my previous visit to this restaurant last year, this time around I got lucky and I got some of what they call the outside brown. Outside brown is the skin that they chop into the rest of the meat, and that's where all the smoke flavor is. And it stayed crispy. It really added a nice texture, really added that smoke flavor that I've been looking for. Sauce options, I gave them a 3. They had the usual vinegar with pepper flakes, and they also had something a little bit sweeter. I don't know if they were trying to appease the Lexington fans, but this kind of had a little bit of a tomato sauce taste to it. I really didn't care for it, but it was nice to have the option if you wanted to try something else. The sides were pretty standard. Gave them a 3. We had hush puppies and cornbread. The cornbread wasn't the usual cakey cornbread. It was kind of flat, and you could probably actually use it to make a sandwich if you wanted. Overall taste, I gave them a 4. Value, I'd say, was 3, probably pretty average. Service was 4, very friendly at the counter. Cleanliness, I'd say, was a 4. I believe they had a 95 or a 96 cleanliness score. That's pretty good. Ambiance inside was 3. It's just an old barbecue joint, nothing fancy, nothing dirty, just basic stuff. And the setting out, I gave them a 5. I like that the farmland, the pasture, the animals, a very nice setting. So I gave them a total score of 32 out of 45. The real highlight for me is after we ate, we were walking around the building outside, and I really wanted to get a look inside the smokehouse. I thought that would be cool. So I saw one of the workers hanging out outside, and I motioned over to him, and I told him that we were doing some of the North Carolina BBQ trail, and asked if we could see the smoker. And he said sure, so he gave us a quick tour of the smokehouse and showed us how they cook every night. You don't mind being on camera,
Oh, no,
cool?
sir, you're fine.
Oh, wow.
Like modern day pits. Most people don't have these where you can cook the whole hog and stuff. We call these the pits, and the other ones are. We got 2 cookers. I'll show you that after. That's what it looks like inside. We just laid the pigs on the metal rails. And
Do you do all your cooking overnight?
yes, sir.
How hot does it get in here overnight?
I know in the daytime, I don't know about night, but I know in some days times in the summertime, close to almost 200. Like with a temperature gauge that we check the meat, you can hold it up in the air and it'll be 180 in here.
Wow.
Very hot in here. Sometimes I don't know how the boy does it. But,
That's amazing. What do you do here?
we used to have both of these chimneys going, but they started cracking and we didn't want nobody to get hold of nothing, so we stopped using these and we had to build one over there. So, I mean, it used to be twice as hot in here because we had both of these going at the same time.
What do you cook in here?
We just put the wood in here and the coals drop, and that's what we use.
I see. Then you shovel the coals in there.
We put after the wood burns coals out, we'll take the coals and put them under the pig.
Amazing.
So, I mean,
now this is hard work. This is a real man's work.
yes, sir.
See, hard
So
work.
it sure is.
Yeah.
It ain't the easy style.
We went to Grady's last week.
Yes, sir.
And if you've ever read their story, the original owner had it for one day, and then he quit. He couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, for one day. So I understand.
You have to be a man to walk out here.
Yep.
If not, you ain't gonna be staying here long.
Yep.
If y'all want me to, I'll show you the other side. Most people would use to cook pigs and stuff like that. And these are the last 2 pits. But these, you can put 2 hogs on at a time. It's like more modern than what people use nowadays.
Yep.
They don't have the pits and stuff like that. Because you can't build the pits no more because unless you have the old style bricks. And the bricks nowadays has like chemicals and stuff like that in them, so you can't cook with them. Like cook off of bricks.
So that these bricks will break down at some point, right? And
They've been here a long, long time, and they ain't done it yet. So, but one day they'll probably start to break down and stuff like that. But
so do you use these too?
yes, sir. You put 2 hogs on these, and I mean sometimes it's easier to just get them going and get it hot faster, you know what I mean, than the cookers. But the boy that works out here, he prefers the cookers, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He claims it's easier on them. And right here, this is our new chimney that we put in. We used to not have no chimney or nothing here. It wasn't nothing here, so we had to do this from the ground up and get something to come in here and put us a chimney. And this is the other place where we throw the wood in there and wait for it to burn coals.
He said that those rooms get up to about 200 degrees in the summer. This is very hard work, as you can imagine, and they still do things the right way, the old way. The next restaurant up is called Smiley's in Lexington. We had originally set out to go to a place called Lexington BBQ, but it was Sunday and they were closed. So we ended up going to Smiley's, which is right up the road, and that was supposed to be another good example of Lexington style barbecue. This would be my first time having Lexington barbecue, and I was very curious to compare the two. So on to the review. Smoke flavor was a 2. There was definitely some smoke flavor. It wasn't sweet though. Maybe a little bit on the bitter side, but you could definitely taste the smoke in this one. Sauce options, I gave them a 2. Their sauce tasted a lot like the tomato-based sauce that Skylight Inn was offering. I don't know if Skylight was trying to emulate them, but that's what it reminded me of. A lot of tomato in it, not really too sweet. It really wasn't too crazy about it. The sides were pretty standard. I gave them a 2. Overall taste, I gave them a 2. Just to clarify, the food wasn't bad at all. I got what I believe they called the chopped barbecue. This was okay, but it didn't really taste like barbecue to me. It tasted like a pork loin that you might cook at home. A definite pork taste, no real barbecue qualities to it though. And before ordering, the waitress said that the pulled pork has too much sauce for her, and she prefers the chopped. So that's what I went with, and I felt like, again, had a good pork taste, but it really didn't taste like barbecue. And my friend got what they called the Super Q sandwich, which appeared to be pulled pork. I think that had a much better taste than mine. It wasn't drowning in sauce. I thought that had a reasonable amount of sauce and a pretty good taste. So your end result might really depend on what texture and what type of chop you get. And for service, I gave them a 3. I think the waitress was okay. When I went up to the counter to pay, I asked the waitress if we'd be able to go around back and take a look at the smokehouse, and she laughed. I don't think she thought I was serious, but I was. So after I paid, I walked outside the building and was kind of standing around by the smokehouse to see if I could grab somebody for a couple of minutes, and another worker came out and asked if I wanted to see the smokehouse, and I said yes. She told me to knock on the side door and ask to see it. So I did that, and I had to talk through a screen door with my mask on, and I don't think he really understood what I was asking. So somebody came out. I guess he was the owner or the manager. He said he really couldn't bring me into the kitchen, but he showed me where he stored all the wood. And then he said, yeah, well, why don't you come into the kitchen for a minute? And I guess that's where they do their smoking. It seemed like they didn't have a separate smokehouse here. He just showed me a chimney, and that's where they cook. So you might have thought I was a weirdo for wanting to see behind the scenes, but we weren't clicking for whatever reason. Cleanliness, I'd give them a 4. The ambiance inside was a standard barbecue joint. The setting outside, I gave them a 3. This wasn't really out in the farmland. It was kind of off of a busy road, but nothing too exciting. So their total score was a 24 out of 45. The next restaurant is called Log Cabin in Albermarle, North Carolina. I was turned on to this place by somebody I was chatting with online about local barbecue, and I was complaining that most places I go to don't really have much smoke flavor. And he told me this is probably the smokiest he has had around here, and I figured I'd give it a shot. And I wasn't disappointed, so on to the scoring. Smoke flavor, I would give a 4, and it was a pleasant smoke flavor. Apparently this is not considered Eastern style, it's not considered Piedmont style. According to the waitress, it's log cabin style. And I kind of chuckled, but she said that noticed that it was served without any sauce. It's served dry. The meat could stand up on its own. There's a nice flavor. There's a good taste to the meat. You have some smoke flavor. And they offer sauce if you want it, but it's not forced on you, which I really like. I think it's important for good quality meat to stand on its own, and it's up to the customer to add the sauce that he or she wants. For sauce options, I gave them a 3. They gave some type of a vinegar sauce, which I believe was homemade, but then they also gave little tubs of Sweet Baby Ray's. I mean, it was good, especially good if you mix the two, but I prefer to see a homemade sauce rather than a supermarket sauce. Sides, I gave a 3. It was the pretty standard hush puppies and coleslaw. At first we had the white coleslaw, which was okay, and then another waitress recommended the red slaw. That was kind of harsh. I believe they mixed some of their red vinegar sauce in with it. It was a little harsh, but when you mix the two, It was a little bit better. Overall taste, I would give a 4. Value was pretty standard. I'd give a 3. I mean, I'm learning as I go, and I guess something that's called a tray is typically for lunch. Comes with one side and really not that much meat. Something that's a platter or a plate, I guess, is a little more meat and I think 2 sides. So the value was good. Definitely could have eaten a little bit more though. Service was 4. The waitresses were friendly but pretty busy. And as usual on the way out, I asked if we could see the smokehouse, and she said no. It had just started raining, and they really had no interest in showing me the smokehouse, I guess. Cleanliness, I gave them a 5. They did have a score of 100, which is great to see. They were very strict about mask wearing. There were a couple people that walked through the front door and they were stopped immediately if they didn't have a mask. Reading some reviews of the place, that's a little bit strict for some people, and people were getting mad, but that is the law and those are the rules, so beware if you go here, you'll need to have a mask. Ambiance inside was 3, pretty standard restaurant. Setting outside was a 3, was pretty standard. It was off of a busy road. There were no farms or animals or anything like that. Total score was a 32 out of 45. Thanks for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.